Thank you very much. It's like we were wonderfully introduced. This is the Birmingham Concert Band. I'm Patrick Jensen. We're here to give you a little holiday flair, maybe a little early in the season, a few weeks ahead of time before Christmas, but maybe look at this as a warm-up for the holiday season, something to get you charged up for all the fun that we're going to have over the next couple of weeks. Tonight we will present to you a musical representation of the hustle and bustle of the holiday season. We call it Sleigh Ride, which you'll hear that tune a little bit later in the program, but most of the tunes tonight are going to have something to do with moving around during the holiday season. And the last one, Rudolph, of course, that's how Santa gets around during the holiday season. He's got Rudolph to drag him around on the sleigh. But we're going to give you a bunch of different tunes that are going to highlight that sort of mood of the holidays. And, I kind of think, sometimes, we go through a lot to get to places during the holiday season with all the snow and all the stuff that's going on, but it's always worth it. There's a lot of hard work that goes in. Anything that's worth doing has a little bit of work involved, and I think that's this is part of that holiday kind of flair that we all have to do. We have to drive through the snow, we have to get to places, but it's all worth it in the end. So we opened up with Rudolph. Our next tune is going to be of the cinema variety. It's going to be from the movie soundtrack of Home Alone, one that a lot of you know and love from this time of year. And if you've seen the movie before, not to spoil a almost 30-year-old movie, but if you haven't seen the movie before, there's a lot of hustle and bustle in that movie. The McAllister family goes off on vacation. They leave one of their young children at home accidentally, and then the family is trying to rush home to try to get to Kevin, and Kevin is trying to fight off some home invaders. But the real cool thing about this from the music side of it is that the composer of the soundtrack for this movie is none other than John Williams, the same guy that does Star Wars and Jaws and Indiana Jones and all of that. And what you're going to hear in this soundtrack is maybe not so much Star Wars, but you're going to hear a little bit of maybe what you hear in Harry Potter, because he did the first few Harry Potter movies as well, and you'll hear a little bit of that holiday sound in there as well. So hopefully you enjoy. This is a suite of tunes from Home Alone. All right, for our next tune, you're going to see a familiar face take the conductor's podium right here. And even though I've introduced him before, I want to introduce him again and really point out how much this man does for this band. Not only is he a former conductor of the band, but he's the current music librarian. He is involved in the band council and the leadership side of things. He plays both bass clarinet and French horn in this ensemble, depending on what we need. He's a jack of all trades, a guy who really helps out the band in so many ways, and now he's going to lead the ensemble for our next selection. Please welcome Grant Hemke to the front of the stage. Thank you very much. One more time for Grant Hempke, please. One more time. I'm sorry I missed that last triangle note right there. I totally biffed it. It's a lot of people you think the triangle will be the easiest instrument to play in the ensemble. No, there are people who have dedicated their professional lives to being masters of the triangle. I am not one of those people, and I totally went for the triangle note at the end there and went, oh, missed it. Okay. Moving back to something I'm a little better at conducting. We're going to do a tune that I always like to find when I program for Christmas programs. I like to find holiday tunes that are kind of off the beaten path because it's fun to listen to the familiar ones. We're going to definitely play a few more of those here tonight. But it's also fun to find new holiday favorites, if you will. And although this is not a new song, it's not often thought of as a Christmas tune, although I still hear it on a lot of Christmas programs up until today. It's a movie soundtrack for an old Russian film called Lieutenant Kiji. Now, some people say Kijay, or I've heard it pronounced a couple different ways, but however you want to pronounce it. It was a film from about 100 years ago, made in Russia, and actually one of the first speakies over there. So one of the first times they're actually using sound in the movie, not only for dialogue, but also for the music as well. And at that time, when film was in its infancy, a lot of serious composers were really excited about it because it's a new business opportunity. You get in there, make some more money, maybe new creative opportunities, all that. People are very excited about that. And a Russian composer named Sergei Prokofiev was one of these. He's the guy that, if that name doesn't sound familiar, if you've ever heard the tune Peter and the Wolf before, maybe you heard that when you're a little bit younger, that's a Prokofiev tune. But he's done a bunch of other stuff as well. He was very intimidated by writing for a movie, because he'd never done it before. And part of the challenge, if you guys know anything about film composition, is that as a writer, you're not really getting the final product of what's on the screen until right at the last minute. There's editing, there's all these different things, and then like 3 weeks before we're sending it out to the people, you got to get the music together and put it together. So in preparation for that, Prokofiev wrote these, what he called modules. He wrote these tiny little musical motives, which he got inspired actually from Richard Strauss. Richard Strauss, one of the great opera writers of all time. He would write little themes for his characters so that when they would appear on stage, like a little musical motive would happen, and you know that that's the character that you're seeing. It's like in Star Wars when Leia comes on the screen and you hear the Leia theme. It's the same sort of idea. So Prokofiev was going to do the same idea, and he got all these modules together, and then when it came down to making the final product, he just pieced all these little musical motives together, kind of taped them together to make this larger musical experience. So it's really fun, kind of compositional experiment and all that. The reason why we're playing it for today is that one of the movements is called Troika, which troika is a type of sled that horses would pull in the snow. So it has kind of a sleigh bell kind of transportation sort of theme. If you're curious about the plot of the movie, it's actually really fascinating. It's like a fictional story of the young czar who gets woken up from his slumber, and everybody wants to blame somebody on waking up the young czar. So these scared kind of people who think they're going to get in a lot of trouble make up this fake lieutenant, Lieutenant Kiji, and they said, it was this guy, he was in here, he did it. And then they have to keep on coming up with stories for this fake person as they get grilled about more information. So they come up with like fantastical military exploits and his wedding, and they talk about this journey in the snow, the troika that we're going to have to talk about. And then in the end, the end of the film is they have to think up, because they finally, it comes down to brass tacks, Lieutenant Kiji has to show up. How are they going to do it? Well, he died in battle, tragically, and then there's a funeral for him. So it's a story about this fictional person that doesn't exist, some awesome music to go around with it, and hopefully you enjoy it. So 2 movements from Lieutenant Kiji. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have one more tune for you for the first half of the program, then we're going to come back and do a whole second set of tunes for you. Before we do that, though, I do want to make note that we do have a special promotion going on tonight, similar to what we did last year with our Encore. We are a community organization. We are a nonprofit, and we really require the support of the community to operate this ensemble, this organization. A lot of props should go to our advertisers, and hopefully you got our program with our advertising jacket in there. We'd really appreciate if you support those advertisers and tell them where you heard their name, and it'll help us out and help them out at the same time. And also, if you feel generous enough to give us some donations as well, we really appreciate any sort of donation you give, small or large. And if you do happen to give tonight, you can actually have a part in choosing the Encore. We have two selections. If you look in your program, we have two different choices. One is A Marshmallow World, which was, who knows who did A Marshmallow World originally? You might know who did that song? Yeah, Dean Martin. My dad got it. My dad back there. Dean Martin. So the old Dean Martin Christmas classic, or the Christmas favorite, We Wish You a Merry Christmas, with a really cool arrangement by Robert W. Smith. So whichever one gets the most money during the intermission right here, we'll end up playing that one for the encore at the end of the night. All right, so one more tune for you. We're going to play Jingle Bells Fantasy, which is a wonderful arrangement of a very familiar tune that's going to go through about 20 different styles of Jingle Bells as we go through it. It's going to be a nice toe-tapping fun time. So stick around. We'll be back for one more half of music. Birmingham Concert Band. Thank you very much. We're back at it. We're the Birmingham Concert Band. I'm Patrick Jensen. We got one more half of holiday music for you. Hopefully you're warmed up. I'm certainly warmed up here. I'm sweating like crazy. So we're warming ourselves up for the holiday season. Hopefully you're getting geared up for it as well. We're continuing on with our sleigh ride transportation theme. That one was snow, a dedication to the thing that we both love and hate, I think, during the holiday season. I love snow, but I hate driving in it, I'll tell you that. But our next tune is going to be a little bit more somber, but I think very, very beautiful piece, a tune called I Wonder As I Wander. A tune that I suppose isn't totally about Christmas, but it's almost always sung around this time of the year. It was composed by a guy named John Jacob Niles, and this man was a man who he called himself a American folklore artist. That's how he described himself. But he loved to go around and collect different folk tunes all around America and then publish them, put them out, and make them well known. Bob Dylan played his tunes, Arlo Guthrie, a bunch of people played his songs during the folk eras of the 60s, 70s, and 80s and all that. He was around like the turn of the century, early 1900s. But he got this song right here by just so happened to be at a train station. He was waiting for his train, and he saw this Appalachian girl, this young Appalachian girl. He said she was strikingly beautiful. She had very dirty clothes, but blonde hair and really bright blue eyes. And she was singing this haunting tune, just basically to nobody, just by herself on the end of the train platform. And he loved the melody so much that he went up to her and asked her to sing it again. He gave her a quarter for it, which is probably a lot of money, honestly. And he had her sing it 6 more times, and each time she sang it, he gave her an extra quarter every single time. He was able to transcribe it, write it down, went back home, published the tune, and then it got out there to the masses. Now, it's actually under contention who actually wrote the tune, though, because a lot of people before that were singing it and performing it in certain areas of the country. They didn't get credit for it once John started selling it and making money on it. So, a little bit of music business lore in there. But the end result is a really wonderful tune that is in a minor key. Like I said, it's this haunting sort of sound to it. Nice change of pace for some of the happy-go-lucky tunes we're hearing after this one. So here we go. I Wonder As I Wander. I'm willing to bet a lot of you are probably familiar with the story of the next tune called Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus. It's a very famous story in American Christmas history. It goes all the way back about 100 years to a young girl. She was 8 years old, named Virginia. She asked her father, is there a Santa Claus? And she wasn't satisfied with his answer. We don't really know what his answer was. That's kind of unclear, but she wasn't satisfied with the answer. So the story goes is that she wrote her local paper, which was the New York Sun, which is not around anymore, but at the time was a very popular paper. She writes the editor at the New York Sun, asks, is there a Santa Claus? And I guess the response actually took a really long time. When they asked Virginia about this, when the story became famous and they interviewed her, she said that she didn't even remember writing the letter because I guess they got it at the newspaper and they put it into a drawer and forgot about it for a while. And then whenever they dug it back up, they decided, oh, this is actually a really good thing. And the guy who read it came up with an excellent response. He said he came up with it over dinner. He literally came up with it about 15, 20 minutes, came up with the idea, wrote down the response, printed it in the newspaper, published it in the newspaper, and it became this big story. Again, kind of a caveat to the story, maybe not to take away the Christmas magic, but a lot of people think that maybe Virginia didn't write that original letter. Maybe that's why she didn't remember doing it. Maybe it was her father, or maybe it was the paper that maybe set it up. But the end result is actually a really excellently, really eloquently written response to her question that brings together kind of faith and spirituality and personal belief and the spirit of Christmas. And it's just a very uplifting, put a smile in your face kind of story. And to bring that story to life, we're gonna put some music to it, but we're also gonna have the original text, both from the letter from Virginia and the response from the editor from our members of our ensemble, two very important members of our ensemble, our president and vice president. Virginia will be played by Carrie Mills, our president of the organization, right here, Carrie. And the editor played by Isaac Frank in the saxophone section, our vice president.
I am 8 years old. Some of my little friends say there's no Santa Claus. Papa says if you see it in the sun, it's so. Please, tell me the truth. Is there a Santa Claus? Virginia O'Hanlon.
Virginia, your little friends are wrong. They have been affected by the skepticism of a skeptical age. They do not believe except they see. They think that nothing can be which is not comprehensible by their little minds. All minds, Virginia, whether they be men's or children's, are little. In this great universe of ours, man is a mere insect, an ant, in his intellect as compared with the boundless world about him, as measured by the intelligence capable of grasping the whole of truth and knowledge. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist, and you know that they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy. Alas, how dreary would be the world if there were no Santa Claus. It would be dreary as if there were no Virginias. There would be no childlike faith then, no poetry, no romance to make tolerable this existence. We should have no enjoyment except in sense and sight, the eternal light with which childhood fills the world would be extinguished. Not believe in Santa Claus? You might as well not believe in fairies. You might get your papa to hire men to watch in all the chimneys on Christmas Eve to catch Santa Claus, but even if you did not see Santa Claus coming down, what would that prove? Nobody sees Santa Claus, but that is no sign that there is no Santa Claus. The most real things in the world are those that neither children nor men can see. Did you ever see fairies dancing on the lawn? Of course not, but that's no proof that they are not there. Nobody conceive or imagine all the wonders there are unseen and unseeable in the world. You tear apart the baby's rattle and see what makes the noise inside, but there is a veil covering the unseen world, which not the strongest man, nor even the united strength of all the strongest men that ever lived could tear apart. Only faith, poetry, love, romance can push aside that curtain and view a picture of the supernal beauty and glory beyond. Is it all real? Ah, Virginia, in all this world there is nothing else real and abiding. No Santa Claus, thank God. He lives and lives forever. 1,000 years from now, Virginia, nay, 10 times 10,000 years from now, he will continue to make glad the heart of childhood.
All right, thank you very much. One more time for Isaac and Carrie, please. One more time. You know, I thought they didn't do enough work for the band, so I thought they had to put a little more effort in tonight. It's very much a joke. Oh, awesome. Information for later. All right, so we have a couple more tunes to go, and we saved a couple really fun ones for last. The next one, I think, requires about 15 seconds of music theory talk to make sense what this is about. So put on, I'm a teacher at a local community college. You're a member of one of my classes right now. Okay, here's lecture. So class today, we're going to learn about tonality. In music, we either have tunes in major or minor. That's how you heard those terms before, major and minor. Major are like happy sounding songs, like the last chord in that last song, very happy sounding. Minor, sometimes not necessarily sad, but a darker sort of sound, kind of like I Wonder As I Wander that we heard a couple times ago. And the differences between those two tonalities are really just a couple notes. When you play a scale, you guys know the Sound of Music, Do, Re, Mi song? Do, a deer, a female deer, Re, a drop of golden sun, Mi, a name I call myself. The Mi right there, that's how you get major or minor. Do, Re, Mi, that's major. Do, Re, Mi, that's minor right there. That's really the main difference right there. And most Christmas tunes are in major keys because we're trying to have a good time. We're trying to smile during this time of year. The next tune we're going to play, called Minor Alterations, there we go, Christmas Through the Looking Glass, is like looking at a bizarro world version of the Christmas tunes you know and love. Instead of them being in the happy major keys, the composer here is switching them around to be in a minor key. So it's almost like we're in an alternate reality where all the Christmas tunes are going to be kind of a little bit sadder and a little bit darker. I think really fun though. I love this arrangement. I'm really looking forward to this. I think a good thing for you guys to do in the audience is try to see how many tunes you can recognize. Some of them are going to be easier to recognize than others because they're all a little bit different than the original, but we have, I think, about 7 or 8 different tunes represented in this one. So you see if you can pick out all the Christmas tunes in their minor alteration. Here we go. thanks once again for coming out and hearing us play tonight, warming you up for the holiday season. I know the weather was kind of crummy driving in. It was pouring like cats and dogs when I got here, but hopefully you guys stayed dry, and I think it's going to be nice for you on the way out. But we got one more tune for you, and I want to say that we have a really exciting concert year set up all the way up through the rest of spring. We have 2 more performances, one in February and one in April. February, we're doing an Elements concert, so we're going to celebrate kind of like earth, wind, fire, water, all kinds of music that kind of represents the natural elements. Some exciting tunes planned for that one. And then in the spring, we're going to do a folk song concert, having different folk songs, not just from Americana, but from around the world as well, and having some fun. And there's probably going to be some good danceable numbers on that one if you want to come out. So it'll be great to see you for the rest of the concerts for the rest of the season. Again, we really appreciate you coming out. We appreciate everybody that gave donations and everything. It really helps out the group. I always like to give the spiel at the end of the concerts that this is an all-volunteer organization. We're always looking for new members. So if you're thinking about getting back in the game, playing music after a few years, doesn't matter how long it's been since you played, we'd love to have you come in and have some fun with us. We rehearse on Wednesday nights. We're actually rehearsing this Wednesday, so if you want to come check us out and have some fun, that could be a good place to do it. It's going to be at Covington Middle School every Wednesday. Especially if you play maybe percussion or if you play maybe some double reed instruments, we'd love to have you join up with the group. But any instrument, more than welcome to come and just have some fun. The goal of this organization is to have fun with music. So if you want to do that, come on down, and we'd love to have you. But we want to wish you one more Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and everything. Thank you very much for coming out. Be safe this holiday season. Have fun with your friends and family, and have some fun with music while you're doing it. All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you again in February. Thank you. Sleigh Ride to close it out. All right, so I lied. That wasn't our last song. You guys know we're gonna play one more tune. And the trumpets reminded me I have some special attire to put on. It's gonna make me sweat even more than I already am. All right, but here, can we get a drum roll, please, for the announcement? So the winner of the encore donations is Marshmallow World. Marshmallow. Thank you again for everybody that donated. Have a great holidays. One more tune, and we're sending you on your way. Thank you very much.